Hey, everybody, and welcome to Memes, Merch, and Mildly Unhinged Marketing. I'm your host, Aaron Gore, Vice President of Sales and Marketing for the Fifth Ingredient and Vice President and co-founder of the American Craft Beer Hall of Fame. And I am so excited to be joining you today as we start talking about a topic that's very near and dear to my heart and more critical than ever: marketing. And it is more important than it's ever been for this industry because at the end of the day, marketing is what sells the first pint of every single beer that you've ever produced. It's not flavor, it's not quality, it's not consistency, because if a customer hasn't gotten the opportunity to taste it, then those haven't even entered the equation yet. Branding and marketing are really what gets them to take that first sip. Moreover, in an industry where the vast majority of breweries are making most of their revenue selling product over the bar within their own four walls, it's more important than ever to be able to communicate to customers why they should care about your business and your brand. And while it's more challenging than ever to be able to meet customers where they are at and to be able to get them across the threshold for that first time, that's what we're here for. Not just to give you advice, but to also give you some actionable insights. And that's why I'm excited. Because today I'm joined by three incredible guests who don't only do marketing on behalf of one brewery, but happen to do marketing as their full-time job, working with dozens of breweries across the entire industry. And that makes them uniquely positioned to speak a bit about not just what works for them, but what works for a lot of their clients and what may work for you within your business and within your own unique situation. But with that in mind, I'll go ahead and allow them to introduce themselves. So, Warren, why don't you kick us off and let everyone know who you are and a little about what you do?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for that, Aaron. I'm Warren with Beer Marketeers and Woodfoot Beer Co. Started Beer Marketeers a little over 10 years ago. Came from the beer industry. Me and my partner started Beer Marketeers, both beverage industry, and pretty much everybody now, with about 20 of us throughout the country, are all coming from the industry in some way, shape, or form. About 2.5 years ago, we decided that we hate money enough and love beer enough to open up a brew pub in Fort Walton Beach, Florida, which is our baby behind me in this fake photo, called Woodfoot. Now we get to use that as kind of a testing ground for some of the marketing trends and marketing things that we actually get to see out in the world before we bring them to clients as well. It's been a fun way to kind of see what we can do. That's me. That's Beer Marketeers. I love being here, love doing this kind of stuff, and appreciate it, Aaron.
No, no, appreciate you being here, and that's a very positive spin to put on a very stupid decision to open a brewery. But moving on, Bryant, how you doing today?
Doing the best I can do, man. Doing the best I can do. Bryant, I own Full Pour Media. We're based in Madison, Wisconsin, here in the Midwest, and we are a creative services provider for the craft beverage industry. Started out 2019, 2020. It was sort of a weekend warrior side gig, and then the side gig transitioned into a front gig. As it sometimes does. It started out in Colorado doing a lot of marketing strategy, social media execution for brands like WeldWorks, New Image, briefly, some clients in Denver as well, like Flight Co. That has transitioned to I'm leaning a lot heavier into the content creation side. As of late, I moved to Madison, Wisconsin about 4 years ago. Have done branding, have done marketing strategy that entire time with various food and bev organizations. A lot of what we're doing now is focusing even on the supplier side, both on the producer side and the supplier side, building out on the creative side, creative campaigns, video, longer form, kind of those sorts of initiatives. Yeah, lovely to be here. I have to say, I can't believe you picked the three of us talking about Unhinged. Like when it comes to Unhinged, we are the most three hinged people you would ever know, Aaron. So I'm not sure where this comes from at all. So
Yeah, you keep using that word. I'm not sure it means what you think it means. But if any of you have ever been at any variety of beer events over the years and seen a guy with a full over the back camera set taking video and pictures, you've probably run into Brian at some point in time.
pouring sweat down my face at World Beer Co. running after all the crazy celebrating people. Hi, good to meet you.
That guy. And then making what is by far the longest virtual commute to be a part of this webinar. Tim, how you doing today, bud?
I'm good. I just flew in and boy, are my arms tired. That's a load of rubbish.
So, anyways, how do I mute a guest?
Yes, is it too soon to boot this guy off? Aaron, dude, thank you so much for the opportunity to join you here, man. I'm very excited. For those of you listening, you can probably tell from the accent, I'm not from near you. I'm not a neighbor. I'm from the UK. I'm a British gentleman and I have terrible teeth. That's fine, though. Don't worry. Don't judge me too much. So, my name's Tim. I go by the name of the Brand Weaver. I'm the founder and operator of the Brand Weaver Collective here in the UK, which is a group of incredible individuals who support indie breweries in the UK and worldwide with brand strategy, identity design, and marketing. Alongside that, I host my own podcast that two of these fine gentlemen have featured on in the past called Branding for Breweries. Bryant, I'll cue you up after this. I wrote the book, Branding for Breweries, so that means I actually wrote the book on it. And I am an international speaker on the topic of branding for breweries. And I've done all of that without knowing a thing about branding or marketing. So if you want to fake your way through life, people, strap in. We're going deep.
If
Oh,
that's not marketing and branding, I don't know what is.
and equally, just to close it out, I like long walks on the beach, and I'm looking for someone to hold me by the campfire at midnight. So if anyone can hook me up, that'd be great.
We'll be sure to add a dating service to our Beer 30 marketplace here soon. But on the topic at hand, diving right into marketing and branding, Warren, you are in kind of a unique position as somebody who worked for years on the beer marketing side and as well as the whiskey marketing side, and who now is in the position of owning a brewery. Can you speak a little to some of the challenges that brewery owners face when it comes to taking marketing and branding seriously as a discipline?
Sure, yeah. So I mean, it's been fun trying to balance what we know about marketing and what we've learned prior to ever opening Woodfoot to kind of take what we've learned from that side and what we can do now, right? So I think a lot of the difficulties are like the number one thing, at least that we've run into over the years, and even as we built out our own brewery that we focused on was organization and structure, consistency, right? In a lot of ways, people look at marketing as one avenue that they can hit, right? They say, hey, I'm going to be doing marketing and it's just going to be social media. That's all I got the money for, which is, I get it. Sometimes money's tight. That's what you have. That's what you can do. But they don't look outside of that. They don't try to figure out how that marketing is representing their brand. And a lot of times you get so caught up in all the other 1 million things that you have to do as a brewery owner or as a brewer or as a brewer owner combo that the marketing side kind of takes the back seat, right? And I think that that is the number one thing that we try to help people focus in on is while it might not be the most important thing every single day because there's a million bills and there's this and there's that and this employee is not showing up and you have to go and help out, right? I get that, but it should still be in those top priorities. And if you can be a little bit more strategic and a little more organized about it and focus in on what that means for your brand and what that means for your brand voice online, I think that that's kind of the biggest key. And that's something that we focus with a lot of our clients on is trying to make sure that they've got the systems in place to help them succeed, even if they want to do it on their own and they don't want to work with somebody like us as a company to do their marketing, to do their brand development, to do anything. We try to help them come up with systems and ways that they can do it on their own.
Absolutely. And I do think it's important that even if you are working with an outside agency, having that internal discipline and understanding is critical. But far too many breweries tend to actually look at things almost in reverse. And as somebody who ran breweries for 15 years, full-time consultant for breweries on 6 continents, I can tell you from experience that a lot of times breweries look from the beer outward. And in a lot of ways, that's almost backwards. And it's not that the beer is not critical, it's foundational. That's why we're here in the first place. That's really what the entire journey's leading to. But if you can't sell that beer, then it doesn't matter what it tastes like and it doesn't matter what you made. And if you can't make people aware that it's available for sale and why they should care in the first place, then it doesn't really matter that you've attached a price point to it and put someone out in the market. You need the ability to communicate those things. And that means you really do need to start at the foundation of marketing and branding. But so often that foundation it really is built upon two things, and that is brand and also your kind of front door step of your business, your website. So I want to jump on both of those here for a second, but Tim, I'd love, as the brand weaver, for you to speak a bit about brand itself. Why that's so critical, and what does that word even really mean in practice?
Oh, great question, as I'm sure they all will be for the next foreseeable minutes out. Brand, contrary to belief, is not that wonderful picture that you slap on your can or on your lens or your clip or your bottle. Brand is the essence in many ways of your brewery. It is the story that you tell to your audience, your consumers, to go, this is who we are. This is why we're a little bit different. This is what we believe in. This is what we're passionate about. You are the audience specifically we're trying to talk to, and this is why we're different from the other breweries out there. I like to think that if you have a solid brand, it is baked into everything that you do. It becomes this lighthouse or North Star for choice making moving forward. You run everything through that brand lens, and you give yourself a far clearer and laser sharp proposition with everything that you do, from identity design, marketing, events that you put on, you name it, you do it from a brand lens, and life becomes a lot easier.
Absolutely. And you have to have that understanding of who you are because it's the only way that any of your customers will either. Brand is really the personality of your business. And just like with the personality, it's something that's done through repetition and through exposure. But, for a lot of folks, the first place that they're going to encounter your brand, encounter your business, it may be through social media, but it's just as likely going to be through your actual website. And that's really the one area that is your channel that you have full control. Now, Brian, that's an area I know that you and your team have definitely had some experience, a lot of expertise. I'd love to hear a little about where breweries should really be putting their focus. That way, they have that best foot forward and they're able to explain what and who they are without necessarily needing to interact with a customer.
Sure. I always go back to that same, foundation. I mean, you don't start building bricks before having that cement foundation, right? Your marketing and your brand and your UVP, your unique value prop and your target customer, these are the pillars. These are the foundation. It is not 2008 anymore. We cannot say good beer, good atmosphere, good service. So then I'm going to succeed. We don't do that anymore. We need to know who the hell we're talking to. We need to know what the hell we're selling, and we need to know why it's different from 3, 4 breweries down the street. We're getting into a time where, unfortunately, more breweries are closing than opening. And that's why it is even more. I mean, when it was when they were popping up, it was important to differentiate yourself. But now that people are unfortunately tanking, there's a lot of factors that are factor into that. Excuse me. But that's also why it is way more important to know exactly who you're talking to and exactly your niche that you occupy. Because once you have that, I mean, we've worked with clients who just throw shit at the wall, and it's the shotgun approach. And we've worked with clients who are hyper aware of exactly what they do, and guess which the content writes itself way better. If you're really, really hyper into lake life, if you're really, really hyper into aviation, if you're really, really hyper into better whatever it is, knowing that and drilling down more than good beer, good atmosphere, and everybody is there's one beer for everybody here. Having more intel than that is really going to help the content write itself, inform your additional brand choices, your design. Everything else starts from that nice firm base.
No, 100%. And it's something you mentioned there a couple of times was actually differentiation, the need to really set
Yeah.
yourself apart. And Warren, here in a second, I'd love to talk to you about, kind of channels and some of the ways that you're able to get some of that information out. But Tim, before we do that, I'd love to hear from you a little bit about the need and importance of differentiation and what does that mean in a modern context where more than ever we're a hospitality industry with a beer problem rather than vice versa.
Oh, differentiation. It is that standout ability. And I think, at least from the UK perspective, what we see now is we have entered an exceptionally mature market, right? Bryant put it that we are losing breweries left, right, and center. The demand for this glorious liquid that you all create has declined. In the UK, we've lost 5 million hex worth of demand in the last 15 years, right? And of course, we've lost breweries. So what does that realistically mean? Those drinkers that are out there, know what they like now. And they probably found that brewery which they feel is theirs and they're connected to it and it belongs to them. So now the idea of differentiation is you have to have a proposition that is so appealing, so engaging, so that feels it dives into the heart of that drinker that you want and grabs them by the pulsing veins and says, "We are for you," to have a chance of actually getting drinkers on board. Bryant rightly put it. This, the good beer, we've got quality ingredients, we've got great community and authentic. Last time I checked, pretty much everyone was saying that they were authentic. I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure everyone's trying to use quality ingredients. And God forbid, if you don't have a community, you don't have much going on here, friends. We have to try harder. And in all fairness, I don't want to belittle it. It is easy to do, but it takes time and guidance and a bit of thought.
Thoughtfulness is absolutely critical, and it's critical to be able to put that into practice. On a personal soapbox note, I'd also say that a founder's story needs to be unique for it to be differentiated. There's only so many times that we can hear about somebody who looks exactly like me opening up a brewery after leaving a career in engineering or IT because they really love beer and want to pursue their passions before it ceases to mean absolutely anything. And yes, I am absolutely aware of the irony of the set of gentlemen that we have speaking here today. But being able to actually communicate some of these differentiators is critical, and a lot of breweries don't have much in the way of resources. That is the one commonality amongst 99% of this industry. They're doing much with little, and a lot of times wearing many more hats than they're ever going to be able to devote full attention and full talent to. So, Warren, can you speak a bit to some of the channels that breweries are using, but also some of the ones that maybe they should be using that they're not currently paying enough mind to?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, outside of more, of your traditional, digital or social media channels that people are getting out there, we're always continuing to try to figure out what other channels can we utilize that's getting the experience across, right? So something that hit home with Tim just now was that there needs to be a bigger proposition, right? There needs to be more to the bone, and I think that experience is what you're selling now online. So I like some of the underutilized channels. So owned audience channels is what we would call them. Email membership, even like your Google business profile. These channels that there's not a lot of noise on. I know the Google Business Profile one's kind of silly and it might be weird, but it's an opportunity to post where there's not a lot of other people actually paying any mind to this. And then when you have memberships and you have email and you have these things like that, those are doing better than that viral crazy post. Maybe that's how you got those people in. But now you can talk about who you are. You can go deeper. It's the people who actually care about your brand at that point that are paying attention. And I think that I mean, still, even we have plenty of breweries that we work with throughout the year that don't have an email list, right? Or they have all these emails that they've gotten over the years, but they're not utilizing. They're not doing a newsletter. They're not getting information out. They don't do memberships because they tried one time and it didn't sound. And I don't mean membership like let's go do $100 a year, $200 a year or more bottle club membership necessarily. To be honest, I don't know if people care as much about those as they used to either. But there are ways to do a membership on an app, like a company like Tapwise or one of these brands that are doing these smaller, hey, sign up for $20 a month. You control it. I love it because you're like blasting out things daily. You've got this central location that's not social media because everybody's nowadays going through their waves. I quit Instagram for last month, and it's like I quit Facebook last month. It's like cool, you still came back, but that's a whole other conversation. I think a lot of times people are going off and on, or they're not paying attention to it because they're trying to be better about being on scroll doom. So if you've got an opportunity where you can send a really clear communication on one of these more owned audience channels and these smaller channels, I say take advantage of that. Get your email, get your membership, get your business profile. I think it all ties back to what I said earlier of like strategy, right? We work so much now more in strategy development, and I don't just mean digital. I mean big picture. What are we doing to get people's attention? And I think that's got to be the combo for a lot of times.
Absolutely. And good shout out to the Tapwise team there. And anybody who happens to be a Beer 30 Marketplace user can also get a discount on Tapwise. So check us out at beer30marketplace.com. Cheap plug.
Wait,
But a little bit of an anecdote actually related to Beer 30. A lot of you who follow the Fifth Ingredient follow us on social media. For a long time, we had Beer Trivia Fridays, and that was our highest performing social media post every single week. The issue was we were seeing an enormous amount of attention and followers from people who are craft beer fans, not necessarily people interested in what our actual product was, which the Fifth Ingredient is brewery management software. And so, that wasn't a sign that we were doing something wrong. It was a sign that we weren't telling the story that we needed to the people that we needed to. It's one of the reasons why we moved that to the Craft University social media channels, because it's a perfect fit for the kind of people who are interested in continuing education like you are here. And we focus on things that were more relevant to our actual business over at our more traditional social media channels. But there is that difference between virality, just getting a lot of attention, and something that's actually going to yield results. So, Bryant, can you speak a little bit, to the difference between a strategy that is focused on attention and a strategy that's focused on keeping your lights on and hopefully converting people into customers for the brand?
I think I do think it's important to have a healthy mix of both. Maybe a 70-30, 80-20, just find and understand. If you, to go back to my previous answer, if you understand who your clientele is, you can understand if virality will work or not. Look at New Belgium. And we were talking about this marketing panel, and I went a couple weeks ago. My brain went to that New Belgium reel. It was like, hey, there's beer in the fridge. Some guy opens the fridge and there's just like beer sloshing around, and he scoops it up and walks away. Took the guy maybe 10 minutes to make that. Like 3 million likes, million shares. People copied it all over the place. But that's not consistently what New Belgium does, right? That's not their content style. That's not their content strategy. It was this kind of thing that gets attention. So there's a need to nurture your base. There's a need to nurture the repeat clientele that you do have, and then once you have that, once you're strategic about that, then you can kind of start playing in these other sandboxes a little bit, kind of start experimenting with some newer types of content. It's always up for testing. It's always up for taste test how this does over here. Instagram or Facebook or LinkedIn, if you're in LinkedIn, whatever. But just having that knowledge base, having that social media guide, having that kind of marketing guide of this is who we are, and then feeding that beast to the most will give you the fuel, or maybe even give you a little bit. If people hate this post, if people hate the Scoop and Beer post, it's like, okay, this isn't what we're building our entire. We're not building our entire revenue off of a lottery ticket. Like, oh God, I hope this works. It's a little bit of fun that you can kind of sprinkle in there.
Yeah, some sizzle and some steak goes a long way. But Warren, I saw your hand raised. I'm
yeah,
calling on you at the back of the class.
yes, yeah. Well, I would want to add to that. I think to Brian's point, like there's a couple other sides on that note, right? One, like you mentioned, if it's fitting with your brand, if it's fitting with what your strategy is and your brand voice, and that looks that way, that you're doing these viral type of posts, then that's going to work, right? The other side is that there are brands like a New Belgium, or like we do the marketing for Underberg America, right? And Underberg has they actually have both these sides. One, they don't have a location. So I'm not trying to drive traffic to a tap room. So it's a little different. But similar to New Belgium, they're just trying to get the eyeballs of people who are interested in a product that they can get nationwide. Right. So when we do a lot of like meme and fun, weird content for Underberg, and honestly, it's because all you Underberg people who are out there, it's because you don't respond to the like really cool historical stuff and beautiful photos that we try to get done. So we're like, well, let's make up some meme, and I'm like putting the monkey recently holding up, like dragging a bottle of Underberg behind him, and it just blows up. But that for that company, the followers of that brand react very well to that, right? And it also is more of a billboard style marketing that we're doing on social media for that product. Whereas if I'm marketing a physical brew pub or brewery location, somewhere that we're trying to get you to, that might not work as well, right? That's not going to do the same thing as the viral monkey post that goes really well for Underberg. I'm forgetting his name right now. I'm really mad at myself.
You're forgetting the name of the monkey from your own marketing campaign. You're really
Yeah,
really selling beer marketeers
he's viral.
services
You
here.
guys know what I'm talking about.
Oh no, I think if Underberg can at least rely on the brewers as a customer segment, which they very much can, they're going to be all right. But you're 100% right. There's a difference between something that works for Underberg or Twisted Tea and something that works for a very different brand disposition and a very different personality that you're trying to get across. But one thing I can firmly say is that the days of taking picture of beer in a glass and just posting that several hundred times over and over again on Instagram, that's long past. So Tim, obviously, I think one thing that's come out of this is that you can't have a marketing person just tell you in a vacuum, here's what you should post. But can you speak a bit to some of the types of things that are working best right now and some of the things that breweries should keep in consideration, especially breweries that might not have a dedicated marketing background themselves, so that they can really make their posts meaningful and impactful instead of just being noise so that they can check the box of I made a post today.
100%. Like that, like you say, it is that challenge of you're the hamster on the wheel, and everyone's kind of been beaten around the head. It's like you got to post regularly because that's what people want. It's kind of the opposite. Like there are accounts that get punished for just posting absolute rubbish with no engagement. It's going to get pushed further down the list. So the first thing to do is like, right, take a step back. Are you posting for posting's sake? Because like movement doesn't equal momentum. Like they're two very different things, and that sounded very hypothetical and very kind of Yoda-esque. But if you're really trying to achieve something that pushes the needle, to use that corporate term, the first thing is to come back and go, right, well, what's the goal? Why? What are we putting this online for? Is it to drive footfall into the tap room? Is it to raise online sales of this particular beer? Is it to gain national awareness of the campaign because we're going to be launching in places X, Y, and Z? So you have to pass it through that filter first. Is this social content or whatever content you put out there, to be fair? Marketing, as we've all talked about, isn't just social content. Is it going to help drive us towards that end goal? But the next thing is like, are you going to get a response from it? Engagement is key in any particular way. You rightly said, Aaron, like the idea of just sticking a picture of a glass of beer on there is long gone, but so many people are ingrained in that's all we can do without even putting that proposition, something that encourages them to interact, ask a question, engage. So you need to get that kind of response from your user when they're looking at your content. So two things. Is it going to help like achieve your goal? If not, don't worry about it. If it is going to help you achieve your goal, now how are you going to nurture a conversation around it? And if you can do those two things, you don't have to post 3, 4 times a day. You can have 3, 4 considered posts across the week, and you're going to see a far better engagement with the right audience, and you're taking steps towards the right things as well.
Absolutely. And one other thing I'd like to say is to stigmatize using old content. Don't use content from last week, but if you have an image or if you have something that you know worked well for you historically, it's okay to go back to that. No one's holding you to account and no one's checking to make sure that every post is unique. You know who doesn't care? Customers, as long as it's something meaningful and it's something that actually moves the needle with them.
And a high probability the same customers aren't going to see that same image. Like, shock horror, the algorithm isn't serving every one of your posts to every single follower of yours. I hate to upset you all, but yeah, you've got some good longevity in just one image where, if you use it wisely.
Absolutely. But even when you're sending out good content, it is notoriously difficult to run attribution on marketing as a discipline writ large. And that is one of the biggest challenges, especially for breweries that are very slim on resources and need to make sure they're spending every dollar that they have as well as they can. So, Warren, especially being on someone who's living on both sides of this, you got that classic phrase, 50% of my marketing budget's a waste of money. I just don't know which 50%. In your role as both a brewery owner and a marketing professional, what are some of the things that you look for to ensure that you are seeing an ROI or at least some level of effectiveness on the marketing that you're performing? You're also muted.
Maybe you can understand me from my hands. By the way, the monkey's name is Punch. All right. So, um, so we kind of break it down into a couple baskets, right? You can use the one side where we know that this post is going to generate a lot of attention and a lot of traffic and a lot of eyeballs. Is it necessarily um, driving a direct move to the tap room or direct sale right then and there? No, but as long as it's hitting at least a couple of our requirements. So one being like, hey, are we getting people to sign up for an email list? Or hey, are we getting people to click through to a link that we're talking about? Or are we getting the new followers in the local demographic that we're looking to get in that brand? And then the other side is a little bit more direct, right? If the posting and the social strategy, so to speak, if we're using a few of those that week that are promoting very specific things that are happening, that's another piece. I think a lot of people underutilize stories for that kind of stuff. We've honestly gone with, at least with like Woodfoot, for example, we do a little less posting than I do even for clients than we do for clients sometimes, because we're kind of testing out the waters to see, hey. What if I'm just really being picky and choosy about what I'm posting, right? If I'm posting something that resonates with my brand and is fun and potentially like a cool viral thing that might get a lot of things, then I'm happy with that. If I'm posting something that's informational based and very high priority for the people who do follow us, they want to know about that event. They want to know about the new menu items. They want to know that we just launched brunch. Then I think that's also valuable, right? I think that it can't necessarily just be like one or the other. I think a lot of people do get trapped into like well, I gotta just do this, and then I'm just gonna, like you said earlier, just like posting a picture of a beer or posting a picture of people with a beer. That's one side of it, and I think it's important to try to figure out ways like that to show your environment, to show the experience that people can have there. But I also think that there's a lot more fun ways to do that, rather than just a picture with people in it. And I think that you can kind of explore those ways what that fit with your brand. One big thing that we've really focused in on for Woodfoot, for example, is we're really good at putting on these medium to small to even larger size events. We figured out that that was kind of our thing. We started doing a couple here and there, and since we started that last June or July or a little bit before that, we're up 30% year over year, right? And that's literally been what we focused on. We focused on putting together these small fire, cool things that were very brand heavy for us, or and community driven, and things which is what we held dear to our hearts. That also tied to the product, tied to our scratch kitchen, tied to our pickleball courts, and that's what people are responding to. We've been growing steadily on that, and I think that's we've taken that and transitioned it into what we do for clients now as well. Figuring out what is that thing that people really care about from your brand.
No, 100%. And I think it's also important that people remember that there's a solid chance you might be misunderstanding your own business model. Now, what do I mean when I say that? What I mean to say is your beer could be your brand. Your beer is not your business model for the vast majority of breweries. Your business model is selling products in your tap room. That is what drives your revenue. You might make a better margin on your own beer than you do on bought in wine or on food or on spirits, but at the end of the day, your bottom line only cares about the dollars that are coming in. They don't care about where they're coming from. So it's important to remember that your beer isn't the only thing that you do, and it might not even be the story that you're telling. In this case, it might be you as an event venue, you as a third space, you as a hospitality environment, you as a restaurant that happens to have a brew house to recoup some margin that otherwise be going to a wholesaler. There's a lot of different stories that can be told there, but we have to get out of the mindset of an industry that beer is who we are, because that time, if it ever truly existed, is long since past in the era of taproom focused small breweries. But it's nice to theorize about what marketing is and what's most effective. I'm glad that we were able to talk a bit about those differentiators, but putting it into practice is an entirely different thing because you also need to have an understanding of what tools you're going to need. things like the Meta Suite are nice, but are there any sort of other tools or resources or platforms that you find to be most effective for smaller breweries when they're trying to do some of this on their own, as well as what's effective for maybe larger firms or folks like yourselves who are doing this professionally, Brian?
I'm not sure anybody's referred to Meta Business Suite as good. I think you might be the first person.
It,
Have you
it,
ever?
it is good because it is free, and that's about
Okay,
the
there you go.
extent
It's
of
free.
the you get what you pay for.
Yeah, you got to have an email, email provider. I mean, that owned media stuff Warren was talking about. I always say, what happens when Elon Musk buys Meta tomorrow and nukes it, just like he did Twitter? You own that. You own your subscribers. To go back to it, Squarespace, Wix. I've got a brewery client who, frankly, is on Square, just their POS. They've created a decent enough website. So just having some kind of we put a lot of our clients on Squarespace. I manage them, I create them, but I had a client today call me trying to update some domain stuff himself. I think it's something that, especially in these smaller operator times, are crucial. Obviously, WordPress is great. Giving a brewery WordPress can be like giving a 15-year-old a Lamborghini. There's not a whole lot of value in there's a whole lot of value in WordPress. Don't get me wrong. I've got a WordPress developer on my staff. We've used them for these larger supplier brands. If you are a smaller brand, I push folks towards something that is easy to self-edit, self-maintain. That's just a yearly thing. So email, website. I do feel like I'm rehashing what Warren said, but again, like the membership, something that we're a text club, whether that is through your POS system or a third-party app, any and all of that. I'm starting to think, on the nerd side too. Doing just a little bit more than the average Joe Jane down the street to up your content level. Get a ring light, get a halfway decent digital camera, invest in Adobe Lightroom, Adobe Photoshop, something that can, or learn CapCut. All of these tools that are conducive that you can use in Meta to just get your content up just a little bit. Having just learning some basic lighting. I've got a ring light right here that's shining down on this part of my face. I'm a video nerd. I'm a lighting nerd. Yeah, Warren's got his those new microphones with the fuzzy marshmallows on top. Just one or two things that you can do to kind of elevate yourself just a little bit. Nowadays with vlogging and everything else, super low ceiling to entry. So I would certainly push folks toward that kind of gear mindset as well. Those are my big kind of three there.
And Warren, how about yourself? I mean, I love that you pulled out the lav mic. I actually use almost an identical one. We even do that for recording videos on our end, as well as recording out at conferences and trade shows. But are there any other like tools or software you'd recommend?
Well, all three of you probably know me well enough to know what I'll likely say here. Asana.
Yep. Need a management
So
tool. Yep.
yeah, so we use Asana, and honestly, we use Asana because it's free to start. And so we can use, I've used HubSpot, I've used Monday, I've used, all these different management or task management type of softwares and tools. We picked Asana over the years because it was the simplest and the most user friendly and free or cheaper than the others. And so Asana's, I mean, you guys have probably heard me. I know Bryant and Aaron at least 7 times heard me preach it and talk about it at the conferences that I've spoken at about it. And it's only because I think it's such a cool tool to get to kind of hit on what I mentioned right away in the first question with getting organized, right? Building meaningful structure to what you're putting out. And a lot of times it's really hard to do that when you're just having this conversation. But it's a lot easier to do that when you look at a calendar view of your social calendar on Asana, and you've got a whole separate section that's like all your upcoming events and all your other marketing priorities, and you're pulling from that and you're placing things in dates. And you can move it all around. It doesn't have to be concrete, like solidified in. But when you see it like that, you go, "What am I missing?" And even as a solo operator of that account or those accounts, whether you want to run it as one calendar, it's running email, socials, all of it, or you have both of them listed in Asana as separate calendar views. You can look at all of it and know, okay, here's what I'm missing. Here's what I can be doing ads for. Here's what I can be doing stories for. Here's what I can be including in the email. Especially with brands that like right now, some of you guys have hemp-derived THC brands that you can't really talk about very well on social media, or you can do it limitedly. Well, hey, if you realize that you're not giving that enough love on social because you don't want to get like shadow banned, then add it into your email marketing, right? Add it into your text marketing, like Bryant said, add it into one of those other categories. But then you look at it as a whole and you're like, I got this. Like I'm doing it. And then if your team grows, you've already got the structure in place. They can be filling out these calendars. And as an owner, you're reviewing it and going, yep, that looks good.
And I have a client who has their back of house on Asana as well. So they've got front of
Yep.
house marketing, content calendar. I also know when they're mashing in for their, next week.
Yep.
I've got, delivery. I don't need most of that shit, but there is a consistent, the more we can do to break that window in between the taps and the back,
Yep.
it's a cohesive thing. Like we need the head needs to know what the feet are doing. So
Yeah.
getting all your team onto Asana, one of these project management softwares, as soon as possible.
Yeah, our Woodfoot, we're all
Yeah.
on Asana. Like I can see what's coming up in brewing. I can see even private events that are going to be happening on certain days,
Yeah.
so that I know what's up. When we do a festival, we mark it in there and we assign it to people, and we make sure that that festival's got people pouring at it. So yeah, to your point, Bryant, that's huge.
Yeah, you're always going to have more that needs done than you're ever going to have the ability to manage it without some sort of tool or system. And it's not about adding complexity, it's about understanding that with one focus day, you could knock out your entire social media calendar for a month. But you need to know what you're going to be doing and when. You need to know what that content's going to look like. And running any small business, you're never going to hit everything that you have on your to-do list. It's a prioritization issue. That means you need some way of being able to understand what needs done so that you're able to prioritize it. But moving a little bit, shifting gears a little bit, uh, Tim, one of the things that you said earlier, kind of rewinding a bit, actually stuck out to me a bit. Just the importance of being able to create affiliation with your brand, being able to make people understand that this is something they should be delighted about and something they should see themselves as invested in. But one of the chief outward ways that customers can express that is through merchandise. And it's an area that I feel like for a lot of breweries, they'll go on the grandstand, slap a logo on a pint glass, go on to some sort of t-shirt site and slap your logo on the front of a t-shirt, and then wonder why their merch is sitting there or why they're absolutely losing their ass on giving glassware away in the market. Can you speak a little bit to some of the importance of merch and some of what you've seen about ways to do it right versus ways to do it wrong?
100%. The thing like I love about merch is it is this outward expression of I want to be part of this. Like every piece of merch for a lot of people, any kind of fashion wear that they pick up, they see it as a representation of themselves. It makes them look cooler. They're affiliated. I'm now associated with this group of people. So from a psychological standpoint, that is phenomenal that your customers want to be a walking billboard for your brand. And as you rightly said, the only way you're rewarding them is slapping your damn logo on the chest pocket and being like, yeah, $20, crack on. No, absolute madness. The things I love to see with merch designers, a pint glass, or sorry, pint UK, beer glass that someone wants to put in their bag and take home. Steal this glass is the best thing I think can happen for a glass design, because then it's a billboard in the kitchen every time you open that. And it's really costing a couple of dollars at the end of the day. We've got a phenomenal brand here in the UK called Salt, and they released a beer called Apocalypse. And they had like this alpaca with a big apocalyptic like wasteland boom on the glass, and people lapped it up. They stole them. They lost 30,000 glasses in like 2 months. But what did they do? They replenished it, and on 300 of those glasses, they put a secret message that is, If you find this message, steal this glass, send us a picture, and we will send you a year's worth of Apocalypse. You turn that wonderful merch moment into this incredible opportunity to engage. And then from the t-shirt side of things and any kind of merch, my advice would be think about it without your logo. You want to make something that people go, that is awesome. If you ride the wave of being a local brand, a local product, then champion local artists, local illustrators that will actually create something lush that even people who don't like your brewery want to pick up and wear because it looks so damn awesome. Your logo is just that additional element on there. But actually, like we said, take the liquid out of the equation and make something that people really want to invest in and feel really cool in.
Absolutely. And you got to keep in mind as well that our target demographic is people ages 25 to 55, in particular that like 30 to 50 range. That's exactly the age where people stop buying new clothes. So if they bring one of your t-shirts in, they're going to wear that thing until it is completely worn through. That goes an enormous way. And honestly, you'd be amazed how far that they can travel. Warren, do you have any particular merch that you've seen that has been unusual or unexpected, things that you wouldn't expect to be quite so successful?
Hmm. On the top of my head, I don't have anything super specific other than, um, we've had a few things that were like, we had like a dog vest that flew out really crazy, which I understand leashes and stuff, but this dog vest was kind of expensive. It was like a Carhartt branded, but we put, a Woodfoot logo on it. And it was like, oh, okay. I think sometimes too, some parody play is a little fun. We did a Masters logoed hat, but it was of state of Florida. Uh, and we had people outside, like a line actually, to buy the merch for it. We put on Pickle Fest and we had like pickle themed merch. We took and made like pickle character, like a pickle shaka. Uh, and we had it on the merch and it was like sold out immediately. So some of it was really what was on the merch that kind of was like, oh, people wanted merch with pickles on it, I guess. And so we are like, all right, let's rock and roll. Let's make more pickle merch. And so we'll do more pickle merch next year. Items wise, it's definitely we did a fanny breaker that was for Underberg with Be Fresh gear. We did a fanny pack, a fanny breaker. And the Fanny Breaker went really well. It was cool. I think the most unique one for and Underberg does a lot of crazy merch, so I have to go to them because we have so many fun items that just somehow you're like, why do people want this? But it sells. A lamp. The lamp is in my bedroom right now, but we have an Underberg lamp that we put online, and it sold out so fast. So I would say in that, like for what I would tell smaller breweries and smaller businesses, like I don't know, don't be afraid to do that weird thing. If you can do it in smaller quantities, obviously.
Absolutely. Tim?
Yeah, I think that exclusivity side of things can be like something that really turbocharges the demand for something. Like if you're going to go, we'll do a run of 50 of these or 100 of these, then actually you're rewarding those really dedicated members of the brewery community. We've got Mash Gang, who's the Lono brand. I know they're now available out in the States as well, but they started here in the UK. The boys were wicked. But they had a super, super luxe jacket, like varsity jacket, which, by the way, in the UK, we don't have a lot of varsity jackets. So it's immediately different already. But you look at the lining and that thing popped, and there were like 20 of those in existence. And as I'm sure you can imagine, they flew off the shelves and they weren't exactly undercharging for them. But you can do like you've got different markets. You've got the mass market and reward people who have only just discovered your brewery, but then also think about merch and how that rewards those who are very much dedicated to your brand already. And that rewarding system through like memberships and ownership. And when you've been with a team for a while, you get something quite special. Then there's that little extra icing on the cake going, oh, they really care for me. They really get it and understand me.
And you got to keep in mind that your regulars are the people who keep your lights on. When you take care of them, you become the only place they go, and that makes a huge difference. One other one I'll call out, since a lot of breweries do make most of their money in the tap room, but distribution is not dead. Coasters can go an enormous way in distribution because they cost absolutely nothing, and bars are going to put them under whatever beer they're serving, absolutely irrespective of whose beer it is. If you want to get your product under someone else's product, that is an amazing way of being able to market to people who otherwise might never be aware of or even engage with your brand. And I have yet to run into a bar that does not want more coasters. Oh, Tim.
And I need to jump on this really quickly because it's something that we're working on
Sorry,
here.
bar mats, or what do they call them in the
Bar
UK?
mats, yeah, coasters, drip mat, well, yeah, the things you put under the glass, right? But we were talking about viral content earlier on, and this is where the streams cross. That if you leverage physical POS in a really engaging way, it can become viral, or it can engage or encourage consumers and users to put that online. So we're working with a brewery here. They've got a lovely cask bitter which they've brought back. It's called Tiger. It's this really cool, well balanced. No, I'm not going to wax lyrically about the cask, but it's gorgeous. But it's called Tiger. Got a vicious tiger on the glass. So the beer mats that we're developing look like cage panels. So to be fair, it's not very functional as a beer mat because the liquid will drip through. But we encourage everyone to cage the tiger and take a photograph. So much like you would have a house of cards, you now have Mark at the pub carefully stacking these cage beer mats around his pint glass and taking a photograph. And all of a sudden, you've got photographs of these elaborate cages going online, which of course the brewery can then use. So this is something that we're working on, but it's how you turn just even a simple beer mat into something which could be a really engaging opportunity.
That they
Love
make
that.
really handy frisbees and or shurikens. Just be in mind, you don't want anybody putting their eye out with it. But as we start coming up to time, I appreciate you, Tim, Bryant, Warren being on here. But I'd really like to kind of leave on a note of if there's one tip, one takeaway, one thing that breweries can be doing better or different in their marketing, what would you leave them with? Tim, I'll start with you.
If there's one thing you can be doing better in your marketing, I think it's having the confidence to put the liquid to one side and think about your audience. If you know your audience and what they're looking for, you can engage with them on a deeper way, and your liquid then becomes the icing on the cake. But you also draw far more people towards your brand because they're finding you for lots of other reasons beyond just a wicked beer.
Absolutely, and a recurring theme. The beer is the reward. The beer is not necessarily the message. Brian, how about you?
Yeah, what he said, his thing.
Well, so
Um,
glad we had you
yeah,
on.
uh, no, I mean, just springboarding off of that. I mean, that was poetry. Like people follow people. People engage with people. They don't engage with logos. 9 times out of 10, even in these video campaigns that I build out, about a piece of brewing equipment. It's less about the bells and whistles of the brewing equipment. It's less about the bells and whistles and the IBUs of this beer and the ABV. It's the story behind it. It's the story behind how XYZ brewery started. It's the people behind it. It's the actual give a shit factor. That's what people fall in love with. Is the people behind it. So lean into that and understand who your target market is and understand how you serve them best.
Every industry is a people industry, and at the end of the day, people want to envision themselves in your space. That goes a long way. Warren, how about you?
Yeah, so I mean, obviously what those guys said is amazing, right? That's 100% all true. On my side, maybe number one, get organized, build out your organization, build out that back end that we talked about in something like Asana, because again, you can't do what Brian and Tim are looking at doing and talking about doing without knowing what you're going to be doing and planning ahead. It still takes time. It still takes effort. And Bryant, that's cheating. And so it's still one of those things where you have to plan. You want to get ahead, and even organic content can still be planned, right? It still should be meaningful. So that's one side. And then I'd say, have fun doing what you're doing. Enjoy putting together what you need to put out there, and then use your own audience channels. Don't forget about those. That's my two practical ones and one fun one.
If you can't have fun in the beer industry, where can you have fun? And this has been a lot of fun. Thank you, everybody who tuned in live and everybody who's watching this after the fact. As always, you can find all of our webinars, articles, tools, and additional content for Craft University on our shared Google Drive. Remember, joining Craft University is absolutely free, but tune in next month where we are going to be talking about tools, tech, and how to use them, digital discipline best practices for managing tech use in breweries. And for anybody who's going to be at CBC in Philadelphia this year, you'll be able to find me there, as well as Bryant, Tim, and Warren, all three of us, four of us. So absolutely no reason not to look us up, shake hands, and grab some beer. You know, if we have enough of them, we might be seeing eight of us. So cheers, everyone. Thank you again, and have an excellent day.